Hi guys, welcome to the J&J Boxing Podcast. I'm here with Jordan. Today we're going to talk about the main event and the undercard of the fight in Saudi Arabia. So what's your thoughts on the whole event as a whole?
The event itself was well presented. I think they did a better job than the UK, definitely, and the US as well. And yeah, it was a good card. What I liked about this card, I like heavyweights. I don't know about you. I think they only had one fight on the card, which was it super welter or welterweight. But apart from that, it was all heavyweights. So I was a happy customer. I didn't pay for it, but you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I think should we start with the main event?
Yeah, let's start with the main event. Fury versus Ngannou. I'll be the first one here to say I was not expecting what I saw at all. There's a lot to say. There's a lot to say about Ngannou. There's a lot to say about Fury. I think we can all... I'm actually happy this fight happened because it shows heavyweight boxing is different to the rest of boxing. Like, it only takes one shot to change a fight just because they're so big. So, I can talk through it what I thought. With Tyson Fury, I don't think we're gonna see him in with a top contender apart from Usyk ever. I think if he beats Usyk, like I said before, he'll just retire. He won't fight Joshua. He won't fight Makhmudov. He won't fight all these guys.
Yeah,
what about you?
Yeah, I agree with you totally. I think that Alexander Usyk is the only name he's going to be stepping in with, and he's kind of locked himself into that situation now. I reckon it may come back to haunt him. I reckon he took the fight after watching Usyk versus Dubois. And now I think that he's kind of maybe if he could go back in time, I reckon there's a chance, maybe a 60% chance that he would have not taken the Usyk fight because he looked like a shot fighter in there, in my opinion. He looked, I mean, we both been saying it since the Chisora fight. I think if you really want to go back, you can even argue that it was starting to show itself from the third Wilder fight.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
And I think that Tyson Fury, I think that he looked shot in there. His reflexes weren't the same. His foot speed has diminished. His foot speed is absolutely diminished for me. His energy in the ring is just really flat now. It looks almost like a coach that used to be real good showing the students how to do it, and it's like, yeah, I still know the moves, but it's not quite how it was. You can't tell me, like, if that's almost like watching a slow train, and then if you go back to 2015, you just see this energetic boxer just bouncing around the ring, like, you know, Klitschko couldn't connect with him, Christian Hammer couldn't connect with him, Derek Chisora couldn't close the gap, and he's just dancing around. That was Tyson Fury of old. That's gone now. Reflexes slower, reaction time slower, foot speed slower.
Even his punching power they talk about, it's like, if you actually break down who he stopped, you couldn't really put a dent in a Chisora who was hurt by Gerald Washington. Let's not forget that. You could have... Dylan White is punch resistant to his shot, so I know it was only one shot, but we can't really put that into consideration. And Wilder, we have to say he's a bit fragile, to be honest. Like, with Fury, he's never been that one punch knockout artist how people have tried to make out. And with Ngannou, he didn't respect Fury's power whatsoever. So I think with Tyson Fury, things that made him good, like, he's not... I think I even said this to you. In terms of being physically strong, the Wilder fight flattened him a little bit. Of course, you're going to be physically strong than Wilder. You're 50 pounds heavier than him. But against Dylan White was physically stronger than him. Against Chisora, who's 6'1", Chisora more than held his own physically within that ring. So it's just like with Tyson Fury, I think stuff that it got to his head, to be honest with you. I think it all got to his head, and all these fans that are making him out like he's an all-time great, I think it got to his head.
Yeah, I think that Tyson Fury, I mean, as you say, you raise a good point there. You're going to be physically stronger than someone most of the time who you're 50 pounds heavier than in Deontay Wilder. I think Tyson Fury, he had to change his style up because he didn't have the ability to move about anymore. So we did that. But now even that style is starting to deteriorate. Although he was primarily on the back foot against Ngannou. A lot of people I see, they're enraged and they're saying that Ngannou won. I'm not going to lie. I at the time, I said it was close, and at the time I was saying they're going to give it to Fury because of the Usyk fight, but then I did go back and score it, and I gave it to Fury by 2 points.
Same, so did I.
I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed. I thought it was a terrible display, a terrible showing, considering who he is and who Ngannou is. But I did give the fight to Fury when I objectively scored it. But one thing I did do is I gave 2 10-8 rounds because I haven't got my notebook on me now, but there was the Fury went down again and I watched it and no one called it and they got up and they touched gloves, but actually he got hit with a shot and then he kind of fell into Ngannou and then So I actually scored that a knockdown. I think Fury's actually quite lucky that didn't seem to get noticed. So I gave 2 knockdowns to Ngannou, but then I do feel like Ngannou just wasn't active enough in a lot of the rounds and Fury was just nicking them with his jab. But
yeah, exactly what you said. In terms of nicking them with the jab, there was a lot of stuff that wasn't happening in the rounds, and Fury would be nicking them with the jab, with the little feints. And Ngannou had the more noteworthy moments in the fight. He hurt Fury multiple times, but in boxing, you don't score on who's been hurt more. I see a lot of people enraged with the decision, saying, "Oh, look at Fury's face. That's not how you score boxing. You score boxing on a round-for-round basis." And me personally, Fury won more rounds. So I think Fury won the fight. Like you said, I think Fury's embarrassed boxing. You basically let an MMA fighter drop you and hurt you multiple times, and you're supposed to be the quote-unquote best heavyweight of all time. I think it's embarrassing for boxing. Boxing's been through a rough patch for the last 12 months with the influence of boxing, UFC people saying, "Oh, it's a dying sport," and this is just a cherry on top, to be honest with you. And as a boxing fan, you can't really say anything. I've got friends that are UFC fans, and they're talking their talk. You can't say nothing about it, to be honest. You can't defend boxing at the moment.
No, you can't. And the only thing I would say, the only thing in Tyson Fury's defense is I have sparred a couple MMA guys, and what does happen is they do things that you don't expect them to do. So that's the only thing that I would sort of put in Tyson Fury's defense. But, I'm not heavyweight champion of the world. So
exactly.
At least, whether that meant that he should have been sparring some MMA guys, I don't know, getting Brock Lesnar in training camp, or a few of them at least, he should have been doing something like that. But he did. I don't know if he did, but I'm not going to give too much of an excuse with that to Tyson Fury, because he's heavyweight champion of the world, so-called linear, even though he's actually not, because Wilder was champion when he beat Klitschko. You need to be linear, don't you? Need to beat the guy who had all the belts or something like that.
I think so. It's a great area. I don't really know a lot about it. Yeah.
So, but either way, he's claiming to be the best of all time and et cetera, but he went and struggled with Ngannou. So I'm not going to give him that excuse, really. I think overall, poor performance from Tyson Fury. He looks shot in there. Credit has to go to Ngannou, whether Fury shot or not, because he went and did what a lot of people couldn't do. He dropped Fury in a boxing ring. Chisora couldn't do it. White couldn't do it. And he's having his pro debut, for God's sake. So
yeah,
he needs to be given his flowers. So credit goes to Ngannou, but Fury from here, the only way for him is Usyk, and then I've been backing Usyk if that fight ever happens. And
yeah, you have, yeah.
How do you see that fight going, if that, based on what you just saw?
To be honest, they say prison of the past, prison of the present. I'm not gonna think. I think Tyson Fury will come in a lot better against Usyk. Styles make fights. Ngannou has to be ridiculously strong to walk through Fury's punches. Fury couldn't push him back, so obviously Usyk doesn't have that physical prowess. I do think Fury will come in a lot better, but I think you have to pick Usyk. You have to, unless this is a deliberate ploy from Fury, which I don't think he'll be stupid enough to do. You have to pick Usyk, just because Usyk has respectable power. If he's constantly landing, Fury will go down. People think Tyson Fury is an iron chin guy. He's been dropped 7 times in his career. I think people need to realize that he's been dropped 7 times in his career, and 3 times he's been dropped by Nevin Pykage, Steve Cunningham, Wilder, and Ngannou. If Nevin Pykage and Steve Cunningham can drop you down, Alexander Usyk can definitely do that. So I think Usyk would win, but it's not like okay, Usyk's going to win. I don't see Fury having a chance just because styles make fights, and I think Fury will be more prepared for Usyk.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
also think as well. Sorry to interrupt you. I also think as well. I actually like the fight more now because both fighters have showed vulnerabilities in their last fight. Like the Usyk's been shown he can be hurt to the body. I know it was a quote unquote low blow, but still, regardless, we've seen him get pushed back. And Fury, we've seen he's on the slide, so it makes more of a compelling fight now. Me as a fan personally.
Yeah, I think they're both on the decline, but I think Fury is more rapidly on that road. I think he's more declined and he's more shot than Usyk. So I think that it is a compelling fight. I do agree with you. I think Alexander Usyk, Tyson Fury is going to come in a lot better than what he did against Ngannou. But whether that's enough, as you said, Usyk's got to be the favorite starting in that fight. And I'm very confident at this stage that Alexander Usyk beats Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
And I can even see him dropping Tyson Fury, to be fully honest with you.
100% I can. 100% I can. Like I say, this whole notion of Fury's got an iron chin, you can't say you've got an iron chin if you've been dropped 7 times. You can't.
Exactly.
You can't say it at all. You can't.
Exactly. And the other thing I wanted to sort of talk about is the fact that when Ngannou went southpaw, Tyson Fury struggled.
Yeah. Do you know what it is? To be honest, you called it. You said that you think Fury's got a serious problem with southpaws, and I agreed with you, but I didn't think it was a massive issue. If Francis Ngannou is baffling you when he went southpaw, that's a serious issue because Francis Ngannou is a very crude and basic boxer. If Tyson Fury is having issues with that, then Usyk will have a field day. The only thing Ngannou's got over Usyk is just that Ngannou looks like he has really, really long arms. That's it. And he has the range. I don't think Usyk obviously doesn't have that range, but I think Usyk can make up that range with the footwork he has. So I think you have to make Usyk the big favourite in that fight.
Definitely. And yeah, I did notice that Tyson Fury was struggling with these southpaws against Wallin. Even when Dillian White was southpaw for round 1, that was a close round.
Yeah, that was the best round probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who else was there? And then obviously just now against Ngannou, which is pretty laughable. And there may have been another fight where someone went southpaw and he struggled. So yeah, I do think, and if he's struggling with these guys going southpaw, the chances are he's going to struggle against Alexander Usyk. So yeah, I think it's very telling. I think that it's also very telling, perhaps Alan Babbage talking about how Tyson Fury's riddled with injuries and how he's struggling. Jared Anderson apparently beating Tyson Fury up in sparring, I believe that. Yeah, I think Tyson Fury is a clever man. He knows like behind all the bravado and all the you big dosser and you big sausage and all the talk, he's actually in a room on his own. I reckon he's quite an analytical person.
100%. He's a very, very, very smart person. He's using the Mayweather model in terms of fighting the names. But if you beat the so-called number 1 or number 2, although number 5 rank could be a harder fight in the public's eye, it's not. So you will just avoid that fight completely. I'm not sure if I told you. I think personally, I've always said this. I don't think Fury will fight Joshua because in the public perception, Fury's expected before this fight, he was expected to win relatively easily. I know for a fact, I've always said Joshua beats Fury. Always said that. I always stick with that. And I think unless the Saudis match the money he would get against Usyk, Fury would never take that fight because it's a high risk and very low reward.
Yeah, and I think that I always said I didn't necessarily pick Joshua to beat Fury, but what I did say is that Joshua, because of the styles, that fight is very, very difficult for Fury. And that was before this fight. This is when I was thinking Fury's a bit better than what he was. I always said that stylistically, because the things that Fury does better than Joshua, the thing is, Fury, you might say Fury's got a better boxing IQ and has natural technical ability over Joshua, but you can box with a boxer. And this is what I was saying. Like, you can box with a boxer. So Joshua, it's not that he has good boxing IQ and he can box. It might not be Fury level, but you can box with a boxer. Then Joshua's got the power advantage. And then Fury's a big target. So where Joshua struggled against Usyk with the size of Usyk, you know, punching down and moving targets very hard and not being able to set feet. I think Joshua would have less trouble landing a clean, crisp shot on Tyson Fury. And I think that he would be able to do that. And I think that that's why that fight is very, very enticing for Joshua. If Joshua's offered that fight, he should do everything he can to take it, because I think that that's the guy who he could win a title off.
But to be honest, I have said if Fury beats Usyk, I think he's retiring. And I think he knows his time is up at the top. So I think if Fury gets that Usyk win, he's done.
I think both of them. I think Usyk and Fury will probably see him hanging about whoever wins out of those two, or even whoever loses. I literally think those two, it's going to conclude between those two, and I think there's a huge chance they're not going to hang around to fight any contenders after that.
100%.
Even Usyk Wilder, I think that's a terribly dangerous fight for Usyk. I can imagine Usyk, he gets all the belts, and there's a good chance he retires instead of fighting Deontay Wilder. Yeah. So, but yeah, Joshua Fury, very, very winnable fight for Anthony Joshua. Very winnable. I'm telling you, like, I mean, and especially now, like after watching that's quite easy work, to be honest with you.
I have no doubt in my mind who I think is going to win that. I'm just seeing things that Ngannou's doing, and I'm like, I really want that fight to happen. I just don't see Fury taking the risk of taking that fight.
Nah,
but there's no belt on the line. There's no belt. It's not like he's going to challenge for a belt against Joshua. So yeah, it's a dangerous match. It's a dangerous voluntary.
I say so. Yeah, I think concluding. I think the sentiment is we both think that Fury's well past his best. We both think that he won the fight, though, objectively. Because there's a lot of people. I feel like these people there, because he did so much better than people thought.
It kind of clouds their judgment. Yeah, exactly that.
And the fact that he went down and landed the crisper punches. But I think Fury won the fight in my opinion, and I think you think that as well. And then so. Moving on for that, we both favour Usyk. And I think I don't expect to see Fury hanging around for too long. He can't. It's done.
Yeah.
1 or 2 fights max, probably.
Exactly that.
So moving on to David Adeleye and Fabio Wardley. Like I think I picked Adeleye, you picked Adeleye. Wardley proved us wrong. Where do we start with that one?
To be honest, I picked Adeleye to win. I thought he was going to win. I thought he was a bit not so much seasoned, but his technique, his boxing skill was a bit better all round. But I wanted Wardley to win just because I didn't like the way Adeleye was carrying himself throughout the build-up. Didn't like it at all. But fair play to Wardley, he's definitely improved. And although Adeleye was competitive in spots, Wardley basically manhandled him. Was the physically stronger. One thing that surprised me, the speed from Wardley was a lot quicker than Adeleye. I don't know if Adelaye's extra muscle that he's put on has made him a lot slower, but the speed from Wardley really, it just kind of stopped Adeleye in the tracks, to be honest with you. So that did really surprise me, to be honest with you. I'm happy that Wardley's won, and I think they're trying to say Fraser Clark is next in line. That's going to be an interesting fight because Fraser Clark is a seasoned amateur. Good pro, hasn't had the best start, but I think technically he's much more proficient than Adeleye. So I do think that's a very interesting fight. In terms of that, I'm not going off track, but in terms of that fight, I always go against Wardley, so I've got to be careful what I say about it. I'm not going to say who I think wins now, but I don't know if I'm going to go against Wardley again.
I don't know, man, because I was tempted in my mind to say that Wardley beats Clark, but I just can't ignore this Olympic amateur pedigree.
Exactly,
Clark has. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I still would pick Clark as a favourite in all honesty, because although he looks kind of like no special effects and sort of a steady Eddie type of guy,
Yeah.
I still feel like there's probably things that he does in the ring that some guys, they don't look amazing, but they do everything. They tick all the boxes. And I feel like if there's any glaring holes in Wardley's game, which I still think there probably are, then he could get himself stopped by Clark.
Well, we did see them kind of on the weekend, to be honest. He has his hands down low. Adeleye caught him there was one shot he caught him with like a left hook, and it didn't land properly. But I honestly think if that landed properly, Wardley would have been in serious trouble. So he does still make technical deficiencies, but I am impressed with Wardley. He has improved a lot. And I always thought the power was a bit dubious, but it seems that he's got power. So I'm with you. I think Fraser Clark would win. I just can't knock the Olympic pedigree, the amateur pedigree. He was around before Joshua was around. He was around before Joyce was around. He's been in the amateur circuit for a long time. So you can't really write that off. But let's see if the fight happens. You never know. Ben Shalom, he likes to pull his fighters out. So let's see if that fight actually happens.
Exactly. Let's see if it happens. But if it happens, I'd have to favour Clark, but not with any confidence. Fabio Wardley's power looks for real. I was dubious about it. I didn't know if a lot of his fights, they're stopping in fashion that makes me think what's going on here.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't say that was the case in this fight. I think that David Adeleye, he kind of, maybe the occasion got to him. I thought he looked a little bit nervous walking into the ring. And I think that as the fight played out, although David Adeleye was in the fight, but he just wasn't winning the rounds apart from round one. And whenever he looked to have some success, Fabio Wardley would do something a bit better. I think that Fabio Wardley hurt him with a jab at some point.
Yeah. I also think as well he's a bit one-dimensional. I don't know if Adeleye. I think the occasion did get to him because I have seen him look a lot better, to be honest with you. He looked very stiff, very upright. I think the occasion got to him, but we'll see. It is kind of bad for him to lose like that with all the talk he put. I don't know what level they'll rebuild him, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think he can come again. Credit to both of them for risking their row. I think that David Adeleye, it kind of was like a red flag when he lost to Kamil Sokolowski. And I think that in that fight, he showed stamina issues in a 6-rounder. So obviously coming into this fight right here, I think that because I know what it's like when you're sparring someone or fighting someone and the pressure's on, you get tired more quickly. And I think that that's what happened with him in this fight. And I think that he put himself on the back foot. That can make you more tired. And I think that the occasion got to him. He was posturing and he was doing the clinches almost like he'd been copying Tyson Fury. And he was throwing the odd punch. He looked a little tiny bit like a sparring partner in the sparring partner mentality. I don't know. But yeah, I think he needs to have a look at what he's doing because he's trying to fight on the back foot as well. It almost looks like he's been in the Mayweather gym. But
yeah.
Like he reminded me a tiny bit of Andrew Tabiti. I don't know why, but he needs to look at the style he's using because he's 6'4.5", but I think he's close. I've met him. I think he's maybe around 6'3.5" or 6'3".
Okay.
So fine on the back foot, you need length. I don't think he's necessarily got the length. And also, I don't think he's got the power. I think he hits hard, but I don't think he's got elite power.
He's a small heavyweight at the end of the day. He's a very small heavyweight. He's a pumped up 230 pounds. He's not naturally like that. Like you said, I think he said when he first met him, he was a very slim guy. So it is artificial muscle. I think he needs to drop weight. I think he's lost the speed and snappiness he's first had when he turned pro.
I think he needs to find his identity in the ring.
Yeah, definitely.
I think he needs to find his identity. He's got something to work with, but they need to sit down and have a think instead of just saying, oh, well, it was just unlucky and carry on. Fabio Wardley, he's a bit of an enigma, man. I don't know what's going to happen. I do think the wheels are going to come off at some point. I still think that. I still think the wheels are going to come off. I still think he's going to be at some point that lack of amateur pedigree or no amateur pedigree is going to catch up with him, and he will get knocked out maybe in the first round against someone that he's the favorite. I still feel that I don't hope anything bad on him. In fact, he remained real. I liked his demeanor and his attitude leading up to this fight in comparison to Adeleye. So I wish him nothing but good things. But from an analytical perspective, I believe that at some point he's going to defend against someone who's unheralded and just not that known, but has had maybe 50 to 100 amateur fights. Someone like the guy that Nick Webb knocked out, Eric Pfeiffer?
Yeah.
Or one of that, or Ajit Kabayel, or I can just imagine someone really unknown just coming in and beating him because of the lack of experience.
Yeah, definitely. Like a maybe undefeated European that hasn't really stepped up, but has had a solid amateur career. Someone like that, maybe. So you have to really be careful. But you just said Ajit Kabayel. I think that's a step too far, to be honest with you. I think he still needs to prove himself domestically, because I never saw Adeleye as a top domestic fighter. I saw him as an up and coming fighter. Someone like Fraser Clark, I think he would lose, but let's see what he's like against Fraser Clark. If you can beat him, fair enough. I think you should try and step him to fringe European level. But for now, I think you have to prove yourself. I think Fraser Clark is Britain's best domestic heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you beat him, you've truly gone past British level and you can step yourself up.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't think I think that's fair. And then Joseph Parker, Simon Kean, that's one we both saw that and
yeah.
But Simon Kean was when he worked the jab, he looked good. But
I was gonna say that when the limited success he had, the double jab was working. And with Parker, it's like I say, he looks good at the fringe contender level, but when he steps up, he needs to get a win in the intermediate. We need to see him beat someone around the top 15-ish, top 20s. I think a perfect opponent for him next is Jermaine Franklin, to be honest. Someone around there just to see what he's like, if he can deal with him. I think he can beat Jermaine Franklin, but I see that fight being a bit of a firefight, to be honest. I think both people will be swinging. If it's a 12-rounder, I see it as a 7-5, 8-4 fight to Parker, maybe. I think someone like that is a really good test for him.
Yeah, I think the problem with Joseph Parker is there's talent there, but he seems to have a habit of putting in these really lackluster performances. There's no reason for him to do so. Against Derek Chisora, I feel like he could have done better in those fights. Against Carlos Takam, in all fairness, if Carlos Takam was a household name, I could see that going against him when he fought Carlos Takam.
Yeah, definitely.
He put in underwhelming performance against Andy Ruiz, and although Andy Ruiz turned out to be good, I still feel like he fought within himself. He seems to fight within himself. Against Joshua, I don't want to be too harsh in that fight because I feel like the ref stopped him. But then, if it went on the inside, I feel like Joshua might have been able to knock him out with the uppercut or something. But
that shot was there I think that shot was there for him to definitely. Parker rushes in with his head down a lot. He does it. He double jabs and rushes in, and I see Joshua stepping back and really catching him. So I think sorry, not to go on about that, but I do think in that fight there, people trying to make out the referee was helping Parker. I'm helping Joshua. I actually think he was helping Parker. I think if it was on the inside, he would have been in serious trouble in that fight.
Mm-hmm. There's definitely the possibility of that. I just feel like Parker, in that fight, he fought within himself because it was you're not going to win how this fight's going. There's a few rounds left. You're not going to empty the clip, and he never did.
I think it was a moral victory for him to be the first person to go to points with Joshua. I think that was kind of a victory for him.
Yeah. And then against Dillian White, I don't think he showed a lack of heart to the extent the commentary were going on about it, but I do think he could have done it a bit more. He did it at the end, but that was at the end. So
yeah,
what I'm trying to say is there's something in Joseph Parker that he hasn't brought out, and time's running out. So yeah, I think Joseph Parker, he needs to find something within himself, leave the Fury setup, because he seems to be mentally held back there, almost like, yeah, because I remember Andy Lee was like, do you know what? He's not number one, but he could be number two. And I'm like, if your own coach is saying,
It's crazy, isn't it?
yeah, it's like
Yeah,
your own
yeah,
coach is saying that, you need to be with someone that even if they don't think you're the number one, at least they're gonna say it. Like,
yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like, if your
definitely,
own coach is
definitely.
like, he could be number two, like, nah, man. So he needs to, in my humble opinion, he needs to leave the Fury setup, go his own way. And yeah, I don't, even if he does that and performs to the best of his ability, I don't think he can crack the top four anymore.
I don't even think he can. I don't think he can even crack the top seven, top eight. Like I all see Fury, Wilder, Joshua, Ruiz, Hergovich.
I
I
picked
see all
Jaladov
of,
back.
yeah, yeah. I think all of them will beat him. To be honest with you, even Joe Joyce beat him, and at the time Joe Joyce was like a fringe top 10 contender. So I don't see him cracking the top 10.
No, I think,
I see him on the same ranking as about Wallin, that they're just outside the top 10.
yeah, I think he was well managed and he got that title. And yeah, I think he was very fortunate the way he was managed.
Yeah,
But yeah, Parker, but he got the win against Simon Kean, so credit to him. Simon Kean, did he quit? Did he not? Maybe, I don't know. But Simon Kean has never had the punch resistance, and that's the reason why I believe that he lost that fight.
yeah,
Punch
yeah,
resistance, and he's so uncoordinated, and he bends over his front leg. His stance is so wide, so and when your stance is that wide, you're not going to be able to get out of the way of anything. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it was just, yeah. Simon Kean's, he is what he is. I reckon that he may even become an opponent now.
Yeah.
I think there was talk of him versus Matmadov. That's 1 or 2 rounds.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
So what did you think of Matt? Do you agree with me? Matmadov's kind of wasting his time now.
He's wasting his time. You have to fight someone, like I said, I'm going to use the type of opponent again. I think someone like a Jermaine Franklin for these people that are trying to prove a point. I think that's a perfect level. I think Matmadov, if he fought, I think the best person he fought if he was going to fight him would be Jermaine Franklin. So he's like a top 15, top 20. You have to try and break that because he can't keep giving you these people that you know are going to blurting around. Like the one time we saw Matmadov step up, he didn't look impressive at all. You could arguably say when he fought Carlos Takam, if it wasn't for the knockdowns, he lost that fight. So
Yeah,
you've got to step him up quickly. He's 35, soon 36, I believe. You have to do it now, or you'll just become a what if story.
yeah. I mean, I think that Matmadov, I mean, he's got a small head. I don't know how he's going to take a big punch. I don't know. I don't know if it
Yeah,
always works like that, but I don't know. I have a feeling that he may not take the best punch. I see him getting rocked all over the place and losing against Mahayanisto, and then
yeah, yeah,
he got a
yeah.
stoppage.
Got the stoppage.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so I don't know, man. I don't know about him with the punch resistance, but he's got power. I think he'll be in exciting fights. He needs to step up now. And I don't know. I think he's got more skill than people are talking about because I've seen him in the amateurs. So I
Yeah.
think he's got some skill. He hits very hard, and I think that he needs to step up. And yeah, ASAP. I'm talking Jermaine Franklin next. That'd be good. Jermaine Franklin, Otto Wallin, that type of opponent.
That type of level, yeah, yeah. Ajit Kabayel, someone around that that level, the top 15ish slash top 20ish level, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I would actually pick him to beat Parker. I pick him to stop Parker.
Would you?
Yeah, I would. I think Parker.
Okay.
I mean, he gets his Parker's defense isn't great, and I think that Matmadov hits that hard, and I think that Parker, as long as if Matmadov has average chin or above average, or over chin, then I think that he wins that fight.
Okay.
I'm not sure if his chin. I'm just not sure about it. I'm not sure about it. So we'll have to see in due course. I'm sure we will. I don't want him to go out Adrian Granat style.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I was shocked. I woke up that morning. I was like, "What?" Like checking box
Yeah, I
rec. I was
know.
like, "What?"
I know it was a big shock at the time.
Um,
Big
so
shock at the
yeah,
time.
Any other fights? I know.
I think Talma. To be honest, I didn't actually catch that fight. It was a bit. I didn't realize it was starting that early, but I did hear he got the first round knockout. With a Talma, it's that you don't have to step him up now anytime soon. I don't mind him fighting these people. He's 18, so have 8 fights a year. Stick with the same level. You don't need to rush him. You don't need to rush him. He's 18. He's not even 20. So you've got a long time with him. If you're trying to break Mike Tyson's record, obviously you need to get a ranking. Fair enough, but yeah, I just think I don't mind him fighting this level of opponents. To be honest, I'm not really complaining. He looks good, good fluidity, good power, southpaw, awkward, strong. So yeah,
Yeah, man. I think that yeah, just get him out on these occasions, on these undercards and that event. That will be like good experience for him. Get him, you know, obviously getting his keep him active against these knockover jobs. I know it sounds crazy, but you know, he's young, so get his confidence up. I'm surprised they put him in with the durable journeyman at the start. So
yeah,
because I think that put him up against like the average journeyman, he'll knock them out in 1 or 2 rounds. Actually, all his knockouts have come in the first round. It's only the 2 durable journeymen he went in with that he went the distance with. I'm surprised they did that, but you know, all good. I think.
Yeah, I'm surprised just because a lot of promoters want to keep that 100% KO record,
Mhm.
but that does come down to Frank Warren's matchmaking. It has been good in the past. He knows how to build fighters. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even David Price went the distance a few times against journeyman, so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, just keep him building. If I was managing him, I wouldn't care about this whole Tyson thing. I would just keep him at his own pace and his own progress. Tyson was a fully grown man, like really young.
Yeah.
Like, so obviously he's going to be ready for things most people aren't going to be ready for. I don't want to see him chucked in so that they can try and get this beat Mike Tyson's record and then he loses in a title shot, as opposed to just waiting a bit and then at the right time get him that title shot. But yeah, just keep him going, keep him developing, and I think that he's an interesting addition. I'm not sold on him as like the next prodigy. I'm not sold on that yet. I haven't seen enough. I've seen enough to like think, yeah, he's got potential, but he's got to prove a lot more. Like chin,
definitely. Gas
chin
tank after
pressure.
6 rounds.
Exactly.
What he's like when he gets hit. So yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely.
So I think that's everything, man. Unless there's anything else that you want to sort of put out there.
I think I've all covered what we said, really. Interesting fights, eye openers. And yeah, let's see. Let's look forward to the undisputed fight if it ever happens.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. I think, you know, the road to undisputed, there's going to be a few more bumps along the way. I can just tell Tyson Fury's involved, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, that's everything then. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video as much as we enjoy giving it to you. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, hit the notification bell so you get a notification when we make a new video, and we will see you on the next video.